Elasticity. Elasticity is a measure of the responsiveness of one variable to another. The greater the elasticity, the greater the responsiveness. Let's look at the price elasticity of demand. The price elasticity of demand is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. So what we are looking at is the percentage, how much change in price, this variable price, is moving the other variable, quantity demanded. So here, it's basically percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. Another elasticity number that you will be introduced to is the price elasticity of supply. In this one, we're seeing how much prices changes the other variable, quantity supplied. So basically, percentage change in quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price. That gives us this number called elasticity of supply. So again, we're looking at the variable price and how much is it moving the quantity, either supplied or demanded. Alright, using that formula, we're going to rank our goods as either elastic, inelastic, or unit elastic. If that number that we calculated, if that formula gives us a number that's greater than 1, or the elasticity if it's greater than 1, we say this good is elastic, which means that the percentage change in quantity of either demand or supply is demanded or supplied is greater than the percentage change in the price of that item. So a small movement in the price will move the quantity by a larger amount. Now we say demand or supply is inelastic if the percentage change in quantity is less than the percentage change in price, or the elasticity number that we calculate is less than. This means big movements in price will have a very nominal effect on quantity supplied or quantity demanded. When we say supply or demand is elastic, what we're saying is quantity changes by a greater percentage than the percentage change in price. So let me write that out, right? Percentage change, this triangle represents delta, change in quantity bigger than the percentage change in price. When we talk about inelastic demand or supply, so in this case, a percentage change in quantity smaller than the percentage change in price. A couple of things to pay attention to. Always remember we're using percentages. We're not using units. We're independent of units. We're using percentages to measure everything. This makes comparisons of responsiveness of different goods much easier. So I can compare something very small price with something that has a large price, such as an automobile with salt. I can compare the elasticity of the two goods. You were taught that calculating elasticity is you just divide the change in quantity by the percentage change in the price. This creates some problems, and the main problem pointed out in your book is the endpoint problem, because the percentage change differs depending on whether you view the change as a rise in price or a decline in price. Let me show you what I mean. Here, going from $100 to $50, that is a 50% change in price. If we go from $50 up to $100, that's a 100% change in price. So price going up is changing by 100%. Coming from $100 to $50, that's dropping by 50%. So that creates a problem. Which number do we use? To overcome this problem, economists use the average of the endpoints to calculate the percentage change. On the top, we're measuring the percentage change in quantity. So we take our first number here. This is quantity of 10 and quantity of 14. This is the change. So 10 minus 14 gives us minus 4. And then we add 14 plus 10 in this parentheses here, which means then divide that by 2. So that's 24 divided by 2 is 12. So we divide negative 4 into 12. That gives us negative 0.33. And then we just follow the same thing. At 10 unit, it was $26. That's our price right there. At 14 unit, price was $20. 26 minus 26. And then we add the two prices together and divide it by half. Basically, we're averaging on the top and the bottom. on the top and on the bottom. And then dividing the two gives us negative 1.27. However, in elasticity, we always use the absolute value, or we always use positive numbers. Two important points to consider as we go through, as you think about elasticity. One is elasticity is related, but is not the same things as slope. Elasticity does change, even along a straight line. Elasticity is not the same as slope, but is related. The steeper the curve, the less elastic a supply or demand curve is. The flatter the curve, at any point on that, it's more elastic demand curve. Here's a flat demand curve, and here's a very steep demand curve. Let's see a change in price right here, illustrated by this size arrow. This change in price will cause a greater change in quantity than at the same level of change in price does here. So this curve is more inelastic, and thereby price changes have a less effect on anywhere on this curve on quantity, whereas on a flatter curve or a more elastic demand curve, the price change has a greater effect on quantity. If it's really flat, we call that perfectly elastic, or when the elasticity number equals infinity. And this is it. Basically, if you change the price, you go off the demand curve, and thereby we say this demand curve is perfectly elastic when elasticity equals 0. In this case, the demand or supply curve is perfectly inelastic. It's when it's vertical, such as this curve. So this is a perfectly inelastic demand curve where the elasticity equals 0. Elasticity changes along a straight line. The only two cases where it doesn't change along a straight line is the perfectly horizontal or the perfectly vertical supply or demand. So let's look at the demand curve here. And look at this. Elasticity up here at this point is infinite. And as we move down this demand curve, elasticity tends to get smaller and smaller. In the middle it becomes 1, and then it continues going down, becomes less than 1, and gets to be 0. So it starts out very elastic and slowly becomes inelastic.